Everything good?
To have you here. I'm really excited about this because this was a topic that Mary Shea suggested we talk about. So it's fantastic to have you here. So welcome, Mary. This is the first of 3 live sessions that we've got here.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Janice. I was having a little FOMO seeing all my friends and colleagues join the show in advance of me, but you've given me 3 opportunities to talk with your audience. So I'm super thrilled and honored, and hope we have a really dynamic conversation today.
So why did you think this was an important subject for us to discuss? We're really focusing on what CEOs need to do to pioneer growth in leaner teams.
Yeah, I think we're in a very interesting transitional period in the workforce. And we can see that as we look at big tech and human capital and financial capital being funneled into generative AI and a variety of different types of innovative technology initiatives. And we're also coming off the period where growth at all costs is no longer something that's pursued by companies of all shapes and sizes. We're in a tough macroeconomic environment. For any of your audience members who are part of SaaS companies or selling into SaaS companies, sales cycles are elongated. There are more buyers. There's many more challenges that are out there. So boards and executive teams are being told, and CEOs, grow your business, but grow it pragmatically, profitably, and predictably. And so we're seeing smart CEOs really partner key functional areas of their business and their human capital with innovative tech, whether that's external vendors or providers that they partner with, or with their own internal builds that they do. But because we have to operate in a smaller, more agile environment, you know, I don't want to work 24/7. Do you? I don't think your listeners do either. Certainly I did, earlier in my career, but you don't have to. Technology should enable better professional and personal lives. It doesn't always happen. We've seen challenges with social media and a range of negatives that have come from technology, but there's some super positives. And so as a CEO, if you can strategically think of technology as another arrow in the quiver to not only enhance productivity, but provide better experiences for your employees, your business partners, and your customers. And oh, by the way, candidates who are looking to join your firm. Because even though there's a lot of reshuffling of talent out there, companies are hiring aggressively. And if you've got the right type of skills, you're going to be in the right spot for the moment. But I think it's going to be pretty impossible to succeed without augmenting human activities and processes with generative AI.
Wow. Yeah, there's so much to dig in there. I'd really like to take the opportunity to welcome the audience. Let us know where you're from. Let us know if you are connected with either me or Mary. If you're not, make sure you do go onto LinkedIn. We've got our profiles there. So if you don't know us, you can read all about us and connect with us and let us know that you saw us here. So Mary Shea, make sure you connect with her and let her know. But there's an opportunity for you to ask your questions here. It comes up. We really want you to participate in this discussion. So we would love to hear from you. We've got a few kind of like thoughts and questions, but if you want to take it in another direction, if you want to share your experience, then please do contribute to this discussion. So, Mary, there's so much to come dig into. But first of all, I wanted to just highlight, according to, hi, Lisa Magnuson, thank you very much for posting this. And I must say, Lisa's got an incredible LinkedIn Live training that's also AI enabled. So make sure you go onto her profile, connect with her as well, and dig into that. So, I've lost my thought there. Oh, I was going to talk about us. According to McKinsey's, by 2030, Mary, AI should contribute 15.7 trillion to the global economy. So this is something that all organizations really need to put that, not their whole heart around, and make sure it's a key element of everything they do in the organization. Now, November 2023, Statistica reports a significant adoption of 41% of global organization using AI technologies. Now, we know that there's a massive impact on the work and on the workforce. So my question to you is, how can CEOs effectively balance the dynamic between human capital and AI capital to make sure that they're able to streamline their operations more effectively and transform into the future?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it sort of harkens back to a conversation I was having with a Forrester analyst. And as you know, I was a former CEO of a SaaS company, and I use technology very assertively in that role. And the analyst said to me, well, most CEOs aren't like you. They're not ex-Forrester. They're not going to be as facile with different technologies. And I said, that may be the case. But if you're a CEO today, really the onus is on you to learn, to understand, and even to use some of these tools in your personal life and professionally, because AI is going to completely transform the way we work, the way we play, and what we do in our time off. So it's absolutely essential. I think we're just seeing, a lot of movement in organizations that are shifting human capital to really lean into some of the AI initiatives that the companies want to spin up. And that's also leaving other folks potentially without jobs. We're seeing a lot of really talented folks on the beach. So I think it's a delicate balance for employees or employees that are looking for their next position. It's very important to skill up, go on to Coursera. I've just taken a prompt engineering course. I'm doing as much as I possibly can to make sure that my skills continue to progress, even though I'm fairly deep into my business career. So I guess I would encourage CEOs to be as knowledgeable as possible, and also understand there's some compliance and security risks. And, there's wonderful things that can happen in leveraging the technology, but you also need to make sure you button down the hatch on security as well. So get educated. There's, all kinds of organizations that are out there that can help you. Dr. Lisa AI is someone I follow, and I learn a ton from her. She's going to speak to executive teams, CEOs, and boards all the time. Get smart quickly, because if you're not able to capitalize on where things are going directionally with the workforce, your company's going to get left behind.
I think it's a really interesting point. CEOs are running in organizations. They don't need to be the smartest in the room. In actual fact, they shouldn't be the smartest in the room. But they do need to create a culture to make sure they attract the right people and they ask the right questions. So they've got to have the language. They've got to be comfortable with the language, so they're asking the right questions. They don't need to have the answers.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, they need to, as a CEO, you need to make sure you have the smartest people around you, that you're intellectually curious and having conversations with your customers, folks in the marketplace, and look, even your competitors. I mean, I think that's just an important conversation to be having. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. And for CEOs, anyone who's on this live stream today, I encourage you just go to ChatGPT 4.0 and Google and question, enter in a prompt around what aspects of my job should I be augmenting with generative AI. You'll find quite a lot. So your job is to really enlist and inspire folks, right? Communication is a really big piece of it. Developing a culture where people with diverse backgrounds and ideas and experiences can thrive and contribute. Removing roadblocks. Sometimes there's silos and friction between functional areas in the business, and your job is to remove those. You've got to have a strong handle on financial models and how your business is tracking with regard to your revenue goals and financial metrics. And just there's a range of other things, but there's a lot that you could be doing to augment your activities day to day as a CEO, using that AI agent on your shoulder to help you be more productive. Now, I just want to make a cautionary statement, and I'm sure everyone knows this, but you've got to customize and personalize. You take you enter in a great prompt, and the stronger your prompts are, the better your outputs are, but it's still going to require, customization and putting the human element in it. So I keep thinking of technology and generative AI not as a disintermediator, but a disruptor that's ultimately going to foster better human connections. That's what technology should do, make our work and our personal lives better.
Yeah, interesting. And I'd love to hear from you, Elisa. I know that you work with many organizations and directly with CEOs. And what are their main concerns? What questions are they asking you? How are you having to change your operation in order to serve your audience better? So I know that we've had discussions on AI, so I'm sure you've got a question, a comment here as well. So we'd love to hear from you. So Mary, I'm interested. We're delving in deeper. The harnessing AI and the potential while addressing the kind of ethical and operational challenges. So if we kind of delve into that a little bit deeper, just on the operational rather than the people side, what would you say here? How can we harness the operational side of AI?
Yeah, so the way to think about it is really, let's allow the humans and the professionals to do what they're great at, right? And let's allow the machines to do what they're great at, and let's bring them together and make, the activity, whether it's a workflow, a business process, or interactions with a customer, or deeper insights that will enable better customer interactions. You've got to come together. So, when I think about examples, really, the best example I can come up with is the current company that I'm a chief evangelist with. That's Higher Quotient. And it's an HR tech company that leverages automation and generative AI and deep ecosystem partnerships with a range of data providers to support the talent acquisition process for not only internal recruiters, but also external search firms. And while doing that, creating more humanity and better experiences for the candidate and protecting the company's brand. And so what we do is, again, we're not replacing the recruiters. We're just allowing organizations that may have only one internal recruiter who has 50 job roles to fill to be able to do that and still have a life outside of work. And so Higher Quotient's tool, Easy Source, which I call an AI agent to support recruiting, will essentially take on the first 3/4 of this talent recruiting process. Go out and identify passive and active candidates. We'll use social platforms in and above LinkedIn because we know there's accuracy problems with LinkedIn. And then it will also triangulate looking for candidates against other databases like Crunchbase. So for example, if you're looking to hire head of North American sales for a SaaS company, you may want to really understand, do my top 5 candidates, have they scaled a SaaS business from 5 million to 100 million? Have they managed multi-products? Have they overseen 100 people in terms of people responsibility? And oftentimes people don't fill that information in their LinkedIn. It's just not that excruciatingly specific, right? And that's a piece of advice to your listeners, which is, let's get very specific on all, from your resume to LinkedIn to any other social platforms that you use, on those criteria, because higher quotient candidates, customers will find you, but other bots may not. And so we're able to go out and find a diverse set of candidates that meet all of the skill requirements. And, I just worked with a customer the other day, and they were looking for deep engineering talent with 10 years of experience, multiple development languages, a range of things, right? And we came up with 50, and they were all men. And I thought, well, maybe your hiring manager is going to want to see a female candidate. And I understand, you're looking for 10 years experience, deep coding experience, deep technical. I get it. We're going to be a little bit skewed, but I've got to believe there's some women out there who are going to meet these criteria. Well, we redid the prompt, and we found at least one female candidate. And she was a 4-star versus a 5-star because we don't know if she didn't put all the information around her certifications and her ability to understand and use Java and C++ and all the others that you need to know. And so we gave the recruiter guidance, go out and talk to this person and find out if maybe in fact she really is a 5-star candidate versus a 4-star candidate, because I bet your hiring manager is going to want to see a diverse set of candidates. And so it's really about, again, letting the AI and automation, manage the workflows and the external communications in a highly hyper-personalized way, but jump in as that human to provide that white glove experience that candidates expect. And oh, by the way, if you are an employer and you're ghosting your candidates, you're not speaking to them. And I know it's hard when you have 1,000 applicants, but that's going to impact your brand, and your brand's going to take a hit. And so, I always used to think about pricing as being inextricably linked to brand. Well, your recruiting process is very much linked to your brand as well. And you should just go on Glassdoor and read the horror stories. You want to make sure that as a tier 1 employer, you've got nothing but great things for your candidates to say, even if they didn't hire you. Absolutely. So again, it's a real blending and mirroring and augmentation, not a disintermediation. It's the biggest thing I want to debunk.
And I've got a case study for you that I'll talk about quickly. But Lisa said, all my expertise is around B2B sales, and most salespeople are still in the using AI for business development, even though that's just the tip of the iceberg. And I think that that's quite typical. We're only really scratched the surface of the capabilities, and people are just dipping their toes in the water. But it's important. That's the starting point. They need to be doing.
You have to start somewhere, right? So
yeah.
So that's great. It's interesting because I was talking to someone who's really deep into the topic, and their advice in a panel that I was on was just, if you want to dip your toes into it and learn in your personal life. And so, that's the easiest way to do it. I have a dog, Precious, who Janice, and I had some pictures of her, and I shared those pictures with a friend, and the friend created these beautiful AI images based on my dog. And I used them on Facebook and shared them with friends and said, hey, Precious and I are coming back to Maine, and let's meet for coffee. And it was so fun. And granted, I'm using it professionally as well, but that gave me the impetus to learn, okay, now I need to learn how to do more visualizations and more photography with AI and have some fun with it. So if you're on the sidelines, go have some fun in your personal life and then bring it into your work life.
That's what we should be doing with everything, really, shouldn't it? Start off and have fun in your personal life, and then you're going to use it and you're going to enjoy it, and work is going to be more fun. But this case study that I've got is Hitachi. They set out to improve their organizational productivity and efficiency. And so normally what organizations do is they start at the kind of number crunching end of kind of measuring activity and productivity and all of the metrics, hours worked, time to task, and so forth. But instead, what Hitachi did is that they focused on tracking a single unexpected metric, which was happiness. In order to improve their productivity. And so they issued wearables and an accompanying mobile app, and offered their participant workers artificial intelligence-based suggestions of things that they can do that they would normally do in their day that would potentially give them more confidence, or boost their psychological capital, self-confidence, motivation, and so forth. And obviously, this was all aligned with their management objectives. And what they found, the early results were absolutely stunning, in that the workers' psychological capital rose by 33%. And a particular meaningful improvement was given the increase of psychological capital results. So workers were more engaged. They had a higher productivity. more satisfaction. There was a lower turnover rate and burnout rate, and it just went on with 10% increased profits, sales per hour in their core center increased by 34%. So I thought this was an interesting example that, you said let the tech do the tech bit, but actually using the tech in order to enhance the kind of human capital, I thought was a really, really good example of how the two can work together.
I completely agree. I'd love to hear that. And what a fabulous, fabulous case study. That case study sort of brings me back to 2017, and I was an analyst at Forrester at that time, and I wrote a fairly forward-looking report that was called the B2B Consultant Seller Reigns, and that was REIGNS. We always like to have word games at Forrester. Too many smart people in one room. Anyway, and in that report, I really envisioned a future where B2B sellers would be augmented and armed and partnered with technology, namely automation and AI. I didn't know the extent of generative AI because it hadn't really been commercialized in a big way. That happened in November of 2022. But I had this vision that sellers and sales organizations would be enhanced by their partnership with technology. And what that would mean on a wide range of topics is that sellers would be much more consultative because they have insights generated from some of this tech that they could share with their customers. They would be able to deliver much more impactful conversations, whether those are digital, virtual, in person. They would be able to work 3 to 4 days a week and still make a ton of money. And so that's a great example of like using the tech to make your work life a better place, kind of like Hitachi.
Yeah.
And so, I think we're very close to that dream being a reality. But for all the sellers here, I would say just let your bosses know that you're still working 6 days a week anyway, even if you're only working 4.
Yeah, exactly. Take the fear out of it, really. Otherwise, they'll shut it down. Okay, so PwC CEO survey, and this was in 2023, indicated that 72% of CEOs believe AI will significantly impact their business operations in the next 5 years. So how can leaders prepare their workforce? We're talking about the people now, the workforce, to embrace AI technologies and foster the innovative practices within organizations?
I think the biggest thing is really focusing on upskilling your talent, right? And there's so many different ways to do that, whether it's as simple as attending a session like this, attending or working with some of the coaches at Hard Skill Exchange, which we know and love. Those coaches are amazing. Whether it's supporting financially external courses and certifications that folks may have, or bringing internal training into your organization. So if you are in the workforce today and you aren't personally actively upskilling yourself, you're going to fall behind very, very quickly. Now, I always coach employees and say, hey, don't wait for your head of HR to roll this out. Don't wait for your sales leader. Don't wait for your CEO. Take control of your own professional development. And there's so many different courses and ways you can learn out there in different communities. But for the CEOs who are listening and really want to bring their folks along this journey, this transformation that's happening, I would encourage them to provide training opportunities and to really financially support some of these external sessions that folks can attend. And we need to. This is a difficult topic that I'm going to open up right now, Janice, but the workforce is going to be much smaller, much more agile. The sales force is going to be much smaller. You and I grew up on the 80-20 rule. That's in the rear view mirror. 80% of your reps are going to have to hit 100% of your targets as a leader. So you've got to start to think about how are you going to winnow down your workforce just a little bit, but elevate as many people who want to come on for that journey. And it's a bit scary, but the more we face the fact that change is happening and change afoot, the better we can prepare ourselves, both as business leaders as well as employees of those companies.
I would totally agree with that. I think that, well, I spoke at Pavilion CEO events last year and talked about, I asked them, the revenue leaders in the audience, could you produce the same revenues with 50% of your sales team? And actually, perhaps 15-20% of them raised their hands and said yes. I said, well, actually, it's probably nearer 75% of you looking at that prospects within the next 3 to 5 years. So you really need to start working out what are the strategies, what are the tools that you're going to use in order to do that, because that's the reality. That's where we're going.
Well, that is the reality, and I'm so glad you were able to speak there and share those thoughts. The reality is that you won't be able to achieve that unless you have the most innovative tools, whether those are, revenue enablement, revenue intelligence, talent acquisition, whatever it is. If you're trying to get to that place and hit your number solely by like, well, if I need another million, I'll get another person, another million, I need another person. Like, that's not the way you're going to get there. And so you won't get there unless you have a world-class stack. And folks won't join your organization unless you have a world-class stack. So that's really critical. So sales leaders now need to think like, my technology strategy is an integral part of my go-to-market, right? It's not something on the sidelines. It's deeply part of your go-to-market strategy. And the smart ones that figure out how to leverage it and the right partners to partner with are going to win. And there's just one more point I want to make on this topic, Janice, because when I was an operator, when I was a chief revenue officer for many years, anytime I needed more revenue, I'd go out and hire, not just one salesperson, but I'd hire three, because I knew one was going to fail, the other one was going to drive the superstar, and maybe they'd make it, maybe they wouldn't, and at least one would be good. And now today, CFOs will never authorize that kind of spend. So you've got to really pick your talent on the sales side really, really carefully.
Yeah. And I'm just reminding, we're going to delve into this much deeper on the 18th. So that's our second session. So I'm really glad that you've already done the introduction for that, Mary. On the 18th of July, we're going to be delving into the impact of agile technology on the sales force. So fantastic, Mary.
Yeah, well, it's so important because, right, and I'll raise this back up to the CEO conversation that you want to have, but I can't say, that's my background, so it's always going to come in. But look, the sales strategy is a way to operationalize your company strategy. And so, along with your product strategy and your human capital strategy, it's so important.
Absolutely critical. So what would be your top 3 or 1 or 2 takeaways in terms of what CEOs need to be doing now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, we've touched on them. So I think, you don't necessarily have to be an active user of generative AI, but you need to be knowledgeable and informed, and you need to surround yourself either with internal or external experts. And so get educated, attend sessions, bring folks into the organization. The other thing I would say is, reevaluate your overall company's technology stack. You've got a stack for HR processes, you've got a stack for sales, you've got a stack for collaboration, product development, and we're starting to see much more consolidation. And I think you want to evaluate not only the actual technology, but the partnerships and what does the strategic vision of your core partners look like, and make bets on partnering with that right partner, and start to streamline the bloat that I know exists out there in a lot of different companies. And then the third piece I would say is prepare your folks for the changes that are afoot. You don't want any of your folks to get caught flat-footed. Companies of all shapes and sizes are restructuring and redeploying assets in different ways, shapes, and form. And so prepare your professionals and help educate them and skill them up. Those are the 3 things that immediately come to mind without, a great deal of thought.
Yeah. Well, I would have included, those as well. And I think there's one more that I would like to add in terms of promoting a culture of innovation. So really
I love it.
fostering
Yeah.
the environment where experimentation, creativity, and
Yeah.
really having the courage so people don't fail by experimenting. So it's really down to the CEO, the top leadership, to create that kind of culture. And in that way, they're going to win through by enabling technology all through, all of the levels in the organization.
Well, I love that, Janice. And of course, I can't speak for you, but my best lessons, my best learnings are from failures, right? And
Yeah.
and I like to say, lean into your failures and extract every ounce of knowledge. So yes, create a culture of innovation where failure is accepted and okay. And my only guidance there would be, let's not have any data breaches and security breaches. And you've got to create some bookends that minimize the risk for your company. So you need to understand what those risks are and mitigate those in advance. But yes, absolutely. I love that. I can't believe I missed it. So thanks for bringing it up.
All right. Thank you so much. Let me just remind, on the 1st, that's this Monday, there is a session that I have with Christina. Now, Christina, I interviewed on the podcast. Mary's episode on the podcast is also coming up, where we delve into higher quotient. So we're going to be talking about building a pipeline of success. So that's on this Monday, the 1st. And Mary, I would like to thank you so much for your insight and experience. We've got the 18th coming up, so I can't wait to delve in to this subject around sales and AI and enabling sales workforces of tomorrow. So thank you so much, Mary.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for fostering these incredibly interesting and impactful discussions, and for all that you do for the community. It's a real pleasure.